Hello, I'm Mary Helen Roberts, your representative in the 21st Legislative District, which currently includes Edmonds, Linwood, Mukilteo, and bits of Everett and Mount Lake Terrace.
The legislative session convened last week and will focus largely on closing a $2 billion shortfall. Can you give us an update on where this is in the process?
Well, the special session was focused totally on trying to address the shortfall, and we were able to make cuts of almost $500 million, which addresses about a quarter of what is the defined problem. We will not know how the economy is changing for a while, but I guess I'm keeping my fingers crossed that all of the reports about active spending during the holiday season are going to make a difference for us, that maybe lots of people gave somebody a car. But it's important to think about this in terms of where our taxes come from, and we rely a lot on the sales tax. So that's why a good holiday buying season matters to the state.
What are some of your funding priorities in the budget?
Well, I've always had a very strong focus on addressing the needs of children and education. And of course, education is both outlined in the state constitution as our paramount duty, and there has been a Supreme Court decision that says we are not meeting the needs of addressing basic education as we should. So I really think that's going to have to come in as the top issue. It's also much more important than just K-12, because if we expect to come out of this recession as a competitive state, as holding our position as a high-tech state and an exporting state, we really need to have a robust and high-quality higher education system, and it has also suffered from cuts. So I'm hoping that we won't be cutting further, or that we'll be able to keep those cuts at a minimum. But right now, it's really an issue of revenue before we can talk about what we can save.
You've already introduced a few bills this year. Can you tell us about some of them?
Well, for one thing, my philosophy about introducing bills this year is a little bit different, partly because of the budget deficit. And so I am limiting the number of bills I am the prime sponsor of, and I'm trying to make those bills ones that either are cost neutral or are actually saving the state money or adding to efficiencies. And one that I think is, it's the ultimate good little bill, was suggested by the Secretary of State's office that addresses the demands on our state library. And right now, there are a lot of people out of state who are asking for research, mostly with regard to family histories and that sort of thing. And so we're going to start charging them. And that may reduce the demand, which would work because staff has been decreased, but it'll also bring in revenue that may allow them to restore a position, or at least see that the time that researchers take is paid for. There's two other bills. One is to try and take better advantage of federal funds that are available for what we have as a state called Foster Care to 21, and is now, the feds are calling extended foster care. But too often when kids in foster care turn 18, they just pretty much get dumped out on the street. And if they stay in school, we will help them with meeting their basic needs of housing and paying their expenses. And the last has to do with trying to maintain our program where we will subsidize adoptions if a child is adopted out of the state child welfare system. But it is growing in cost, and so we're trying to look for some more efficiencies there, use the money better.
Great. A few weeks ago, the governor announced her support for marriage equality and requested that the legislature send her a bill extending marriage rights to gay and lesbian couples. Will you lend your support to this bill?
I am supporting that bill. I actually have a background in civil rights. I came to Washington State to work on women's rights. Before that, I worked in Washington, D.C. in a civil rights office and helped enforce federal civil rights laws. And I think this is also an important civil rights step. Also, it's important for children, because I've become very aware that there are more and more same-sex couples who have children. Often one of the members of the couple is the birth parent of the child or children. And these kids and their families need the full protections of any family. So it's something that I think has both legal value. I think it also has social and emotional value. Emotionally for the families themselves, it acknowledges the level of their commitment, and And I think it puts a message to our society that we're treating all families the same.
And if viewers have any questions or comments for you, how should they go about getting a hold of you?
Well, now that I'm in Olympia, the number and the email here work, and my legislative assistant is Dan Hagen, and he sets up time for meetings. So if anybody's coming to Olympia and want an appointment, he's who you'd need to talk to.
Great. Thank you for your time, Representative.
Thank you.